Okay, we're going to have a look at a couple of ways we can make our enemy move. There are two ways, one where we're just going to chase after our player, and one where we're going to go back and forwards in a sort of patrolling situation. We're going to start off with our guy just chasing our player. To do this, I'm going to select my enemy and give him a behavior of the platformer character. I'll turn the default controls off so that default controls will not work for him. He can only move when we tell him to move. Neither the WASD that our character uses or the arrow keys will work for this guy. We're going to set up an event. This is going to be an all the time event, so no condition. And what we want is we want to take our enemy and move them towards object. We want to move towards the player, and we've got a couple of options, either instant or permanent. Because this is a all the time event, this choice doesn't matter, so I'll leave it at instant. Normally this would be happens once or happens constantly, but I'll leave it here. This is how fast. I'll move it 50 pixels. So I'll hit OK, and let's preview that. So he's fallen down because he's using the player controls. He still has collisions set, so platforms will behave like platforms for him. Gravity works, so he's going to fall down. The main issue here is that he can't jump, so there's nothing that's going to get him back up there if we can just get over him. But this is rather useful for some game types, depending on what you want it to do. The main issue here, the only one, not only that he can't jump, is that he slides backwards. We want him to flip when he needs to. And we can do that pretty simply by checking the angle that he's moving at. So if I add a condition, select our guy, and select angle of movement, if he's moving 0 degrees, and I'll add a tolerance for 90, in case he's going up or down, then I want to flip an object horizontally. Yes, I do want him to flip. The alternative will of course be if he's going the opposite direction, so 180 degrees, then I want him to be unflipped, or facing the way he normally is. This is dependent on what your sprite is facing normally, so he's normally facing left. If your sprite was designed facing right, then these would just be over here, the opposite. The yes and no would be the opposite. So this is one type of movement. We're going to look at a second now. Get rid of these. He still has the platformer character behavior, because we still want him to interact with platforms, but we're going to make him bounce back and forwards. In the actual level, I'll create a couple of platforms that he's going to bounce back and forwards between. So I'll put one here, move the coin over, put one here. And we're going to check if he's touching one of these platforms, then bounce back and forwards. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select this enemy, and I'm going to go to a new thing, which is the points, edit points. I added one before, but I'll add it again. These are the points that he has by default. Origin is normally up in the top corner, but I've moved it to the center now. I'm going to add a point. So this point is up here, this blue one, and this point is going to go in front of him. I'm going to call this the flip point. How I spell this is important. I'll need to remember that. Play. So let's set this up. At the beginning of the game, I want him to be moving. At the beginning of the scene, I want this to have some force applied to it. I'm going to use angles again. There are other ways of doing this. Now, he's normally facing left, so I want him to be moving at 180 degrees, and I'll move him at 50 pixels a second. This choice now matters. Instant is that he would move once, but I want it to be permanent. I want him to move until we tell him to stop moving. So we are going to need to stop the object when we get to that. So just previewing this, start of the game, he is moving. We want him to flip, but at the moment he moves. Let's add another event. In this case, we want to check if he's touching the platform section. So I'm going to check if there's a point inside of an object. Test if a point is inside of an object. I want to test if it's inside of a platform. The point that I'm looking for is the enemy's X point. Might be point X. And the name of the point in quotation marks is flip point. There it is. Just going to copy that. Because the Y one is the exact same, but using point Y. So if the enemy's point X on that point called flip point and Y is inside of a platform, I want to check which way he's looking, because if he's looking in one direction, that'll change for which direction I want him to go. So I'll add a new condition. I'm going to drag it on top of this. Oops, sorry, on top of. So now it's indented inside of. Horizontally flipped. Cool. If the enemy is horizontally flipped, then I want, he's going to the right, then I want to flip him back. What I want to do is I want to take him and stop his current movement rules. Then I'm going to flip him. Select no. Because this is yes, then I want to change it to no. And then lastly, I want to push him. So I want to take this guy and add some force at an angle. So 180, so he'll be going left now. He was going right, now he'll be going left. Permanent, so I want him to go left until we tell him to stop moving, and at a speed of 50 pixels. I want this exact same thing, Control-C, Control-V, to be underneath. But if I double click on this, I want it to be inverted. So if he's not flipped, then we're just going to change everything to the opposite. Quick test to see if adding a second entire loop would help. He moves, he flips. He moves, he flips. Okay. Alright, so he's just coming back and forth. The issue there was that with both inside of the same loop, this condition wasn't being met, so it wasn't going down to the second. So we've got two separate loops that are effectively identical, except opposite. So he's going back and forwards every time that point, which we declared just in front of him, is inside of a platform, which are these objects here. Then we're checking, is he currently flipped, or is he not currently flipped? And then flipping him and moving him in the correct direction. This is once again two ways of enemy movement. There are lots of alternative ways, and you can look into those to make it more exciting.